This is heaven, and heaven is trashy. Okay, so today I actually really want to offer some advice about how to move forward when you're broke. So disclaimer, I am not proclaiming to be any kind of a financial expert. I'm not going to offer any advice about how to build wealth. There are lots of people out there that are much smarter than me, who have great success with building wealth. I have absolutely no practical experience in that. However, I have been broke several times in my life, and I want to offer some good advice about how to move forward, especially because of the fact that I feel like during some of my most broken times, I tried to look for practical advice and I had a hard time finding any. Okay, so being broke is probably a very subjective thing. You might not know whether or not you're broke, but if something is triggering that feeling, maybe you went to go use your credit card and it was declined. Maybe you've got like bills coming in the mail, things are unpaid and you have no idea how you're going to find the money to go pay them. If these things are causing you anxiety and all kinds of emotions that you might not be able to identify, but maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's fear, maybe it's anger and sadness. But if all of this is centered around money, then let's just say, for all intents and purposes, right now, you are broke. So first thing you need to know is that you are not alone. This happens to most people. This can happen due to anything. It can happen because of job loss. It can happen because of health reasons, divorce. When I started my family and I stopped being somebody who could help my family financially, accidents, natural catastrophes, all kinds of different things can happen. One of the things that also can happen is, a job promotion or a new job, going into the workforce for the first time, getting a great opportunity, and maybe you practically created a budget and thought you could do all this stuff because you had all of this money, and actually your lifestyle has increased and it has not kept up with the income that's coming in. These are very normal things. So it's not like you're some, horrible person or whatever because of the fact that you're experiencing this. So I'm going to give you 5 steps for how to move forward. The first step is not to figure out what happened. I actually don't believe that is a useful first step. The reason is because of the fact that I think that there have actually been studies out there that show that people who have experienced poverty or trauma or bad things happening to them on a consistent basis tend to make bad decisions. One of the things that people can do during this time is to get depressed and to ruminate and to think okay, I'm broke. This is a horrible thing that is happening to me. I am a horrible person. I obviously have horrible life skills or financial management skills, or I'm a horrible person and that is why this is happening. Or, maybe you're trying to think practically about why it's happening, but in all honesty, sometimes just thinking about what is happening is not constructive. It does not move you forward. Okay, so what the first step actually needs to be is you need to sit down and you need to write down all of your expenses. So, I mean, some people will basically say something like, oh, you need to make a budget. Well, maybe you, for the most part, have a budget and, you think you've been keeping up with your budget. Well, so effectively, your budget isn't like, maybe you're at this point right now where technically you have a budget, but it's not really a tool that you're using. You need to start all over again. So it's just something to where you kind of know what your expenses are. You sat down, you wrote everything out. Maybe at one point in time you figured out what your income and expenses are, and it made sense, but it's not like a tool that you're actually using. It's kind of sort of like if, you sort of made, like, you made a plan to go somewhere, you charted out, a plan for how to get there, but while you started driving, you were like, I know where I'm going, and you just didn't look, right? So you need to start all over again. So as of today, and the other thing too is that, like, maybe you just haven't adjusted your budget to account for the change for the fluctuations that have happened. So take the time, like right now, like write down all of your expenses and like write down when is everything due. Now, and then, right, step 2 is to write down your income. Now, this can be a very simple step, right? If you've got a job, a 9-to-5 kind of a job, and you know what your paycheck is, okay, you're done. Some people also have bonuses. Some people have commissions. Some people work in the gig economy. In that case, or some people have like multiple streams of income. In that case, this gets a little bit more complicated, right? But so possibly if you have an inconsistent income, what you need to do is to guess, right? That doesn't sound very sophisticated, but just take a good guess and base it off of something, right? Now, if you work in the gig economy, for example, after you take your guess, take an additional step and think for a second about how many gigs is this unit, right? So I, for example, own a handyman business, right? And so let's say my income is $700 a week. So after I write that down, I'm going to say, okay, $700 is 7 $100 jobs a day. So that means, I have to do at least a $100 job a day for 7 days for me to get $700, right? Just take down to like actually just think about some metrics around that. Because one of the things that can happen sometimes is that people might change from one kind of a job that makes you some kind of a consistent, you're sort of used to like a day job that gives you like a consistent paycheck, and all of a sudden you're doing a different kind of job and you've got a different way of earning money. Okay, so I'm going to call this next step 2B, right? You got your expenses, you've got your income, right? In theory, you're going to create a budget. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to create 2 different budgets. One is going to be your survival budget. You like how red my finger is? It's because I'm working on my daughter's piñata, so the spray paint's on my finger. Okay, so the first one is your survival budget, right? So if you look at your income and you look at your expenses and you don't have enough income to cover all of your expenses, you have to make certain choices about like what bills are you going to pay, right? Now, if you are currently facing a like serious time, like right now, nobody can work and your savings is depleted, and you're freaking out, you think you're going to end up homeless or something like that, right? Okay, so your survival budget, like I want you to think about I want you to think about who can you call right now from all of your expenses, right? Who can you call and tell them your financial situation? Maybe you call your mortgage company and ask for some kind of an income-based forbearance plan. A utility company. You call them, you say like, I'm experiencing financial hardship. I don't think I can make my utility bill, etc. You go down the line. And then you go and you come down to your credit cards and stuff like that. If you follow the Dave Ramsey plan, he basically prioritizes who you pay in terms of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You make sure you have food, you make sure you have shelter, you make sure that you've got gas in your truck, you've got, the lights on, you can live to fight another day. That's what you prioritize first, right? And if you're like seriously in a dire situation, then what you need to do is you need to stop for a second and just try to go into problem solving mode. Try not to think about the emotional part of where you're at right now. Just go into problem solving mode and think like, okay, after I put my mortgage on a forbearance plan, after I applied for utility assistance, maybe I got food stamps, etc. The only thing people aren't like, I need gas in my truck, I need this, I need that. Okay, so that's your survival budget. That is how much, that is your plan for how you're going to survive. The second one is like a budget if you were not in survival mode, right? If all of this wasn't happening, if you had your regular income, this is what your budget would look like, right? All right. So you sit down, you do those things, right? Now you've got your plan. Honestly, that's probably enough for like a day's work. Like sleep on that, get a packet of Oreos, do something mindless or whatever. If this is where you're at in your life right now, you need to break this down into steps, and then you need to sleep and, process the next day. All right. All right. Now, step 3 is to find a friend. You need to find somebody that you can be vulnerable with, right? And honestly, it would be best if it's somebody who you can be vulnerable with, who you also know is really, really responsible and really, really good with money. It might not be somebody you actually want to talk to ordinarily because like you just think they've always got it all together and you just feel like horrible compared to them. But in all honesty, like look for somebody who's got that sweet spot of having that and also being a friend that you think you can confide in, right? Because you don't want to go to Joe Schmo who's like still sleeping on his friend's couch, and talk about the situation, because he's not going to have any great advice to give you. If he can't handle his own life, what is he going to tell you about like how to move forward, right? You don't need that. You need somebody who can actually listen to you and give you advice about how to move forward. But you want to be able to actually really, really be vulnerable, really open up to them, really kind of like explain everything that's going on with your life and be a sounding board. And if this kind of a friend, like, when I've had this happen before, I had those kinds of friends ask me, what can I do to help? Take their help. If you're in a vulnerable position, you need it. And if you're responsible for other people, like don't be proud. If somebody offers, I had a friend offer to buy me groceries for, like every week for a couple of months. And, I was like, first of all, I need to talk to you. I need a sounding board. And at the end of our conversation, she just asked me like, what do you need? And I'd be like, well, I need toilet paper. I need laundry detergent. I need, she'd be like, okay, all right. Set up a curbside order. Like, she was an excellent, excellent friend. Completely love her. Would do anything for her. All right. She's somebody who's there to like help meet my mental and physical needs. Okay, so now we get to step 4, right? Okay, now it's time for you to figure out what went wrong, right? Don't ruminate on stuff until you have a plan of action, right? But now it's time for you to think critically, like, okay, what happened? Was it life that happened? Dude, if it's just that life happened, great. All you have to do is figure out how to survive that. Because honestly, once you survive it, there's going to be blessings coming your way on the other side. If it's a situation where you were taking advantage of what you thought was an opportunity, like you moved across the country, or you took on a job, and along with the job you bought a new house or whatever, think critically about what's going on. Like maybe your income is not actually meeting up with your lifestyle, and maybe you actually need to sit down and make choices and choose a different direction for your life. But yeah, so basically, after you are really looking at the numbers, once you have a good sounding board, once you're in a good frame of mind, then that's the time for you to think about what's going on here, All right. And then step 5. After you've actually, you've gone through the whole thing of like acknowledging, I'm broke. This is what happened. This is my plan of action for how I'm going to get out of it. Your first goal, you need to create 2 different goals. One is just to survive, right? So like a financial goal for the next month, right? The final step is that you need to take a visioning day. You need to take a day where you sit down, or maybe you get in front of water or nature, or treat yourself to a cup of coffee. You carve out some time for yourself. You take a notebook and you start to think about what are the things that feed your soul. I like good music. I like good food. I like my house. I don't want to move. I don't need anything more than that. But I want to be able to have my house paid off. Whatever. I've always wanted a restored 1969 Mustang convertible. This is my heart's desire. I want to be able to provide for my parents in their old age. I want to have a retirement. I want to have my kids' college perfectly paid for. Whatever. You sit down and write that down, right? And then I want you to sort of take a day to think critically about all right, this is where I'm at now. This is where I want to go. How do I get from here to there? Right? Might sound super, super intimidating, but first step is write it down and then just think about it, because that's the only thing that's going to help you move forward when things are really, really bad. You need to wallow to a certain extent for things to be healthy and to be able to mourn and process things in a healthy way, but you need a vision. That's the only thing that's going to move you forward, is having a why for why you're going to move forward.